I tried those modifications as suggested in the writer's supplemental service info to address horizontal instability, and it made no difference whatsoever. I also went through yet again, checked the voltages, resistors, capacitors, everything is dead on, poked around a bit with an oscilloscope, and for the time being I'm concluding that that's just kind of the way it's going to be. This is a pretty crude sync circuit. They're just taking the output of the video amp, going through a single 6AU6, and using it both as a DC restorer and a sync clipper, and the output of that just goes through a few resistors and capacitors down to the oscillators. That's really simple. Usually there are a couple tubes in the sync circuit, and more elaborate RC filtering like an integrator for the vertical sync pulse. Now when I studied the waveform, it was kind of jittery depending on the video content, and I think it might also be getting a little bit confused by the color burst signal. So for the time being, I posted some reference photos on Video Karma. I haven't gotten any comments or suggestions back yet, so I'm inclined to just leave it the way it is and just live with it for now. I'm going through the fine adjustments on the set right now with the help of my Leader LCG test pattern generator, which can only do RF 5 and 6, and it's fairly weak output. So what I like to do is take the composite output, and that's going to my Drake Agile modulator. I can put this to any channel I like. This set has 9 channel positions. It's kind of faint on the front of the set, but from what I can make out, it's channels 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8-9, 10-11, and 12-13. So the last 3 you would adjust for stations in your area. And there are slugs for each of those down in here. So right now I'm doing channel 3. There's a test pattern I've got. Now I can adjust signal levels on both the LCG and the Drake. So the sync is a little screwy now because I've been playing around with adjusting levels. Like right now I'm adjusting the video modulation level on the Drake. I can put it really low, or I can really overdrive things. So once I get a stable pattern on the screen, what I want to do is go through and adjust what they call the non-operational controls. What you do is adjust a combination of horizontal linearity, horizontal size, and this hole in the back of the high voltage generator to optimize it for width, linearity, and brightness. And then I'm going to go through and adjust each of these coils for a good picture and sound on those stations. I've switched gears for a bit to work on blanking out the vertical retrace interval. What I want to do is make pin 3, the grid, more negative during the vertical retrace interval, which will blank out the screen. Well, pin 3 is currently being driven by this DC restoration circuit, which includes C35, which is a 10 microfarad cap. That will swallow up any pulse I try to apply to pin 3. So what I've done is break that wire going to pin 3 and inserted a resistor. I've experimented a bit and currently have 150 kilo ohms. Now for the pulse, I'm picking off a signal from the vertical output tube, pin 5 in particular, which has a positive going sawtooth. Well, if I feed that through a small capacitor, 220 picofarads in this case, I end up getting a small and negative pulse. That's going directly to pin 3 on the CRT, and then the other voltage is coming in through that resistor. So what effect does that have? Well, I'm also using 7 VP1 green CRT while testing, because I don't want to damage the 7JP4. So here is with it currently in the circuit. If I take it out, the retrace lines reappear. So currently I have to have the brightness down to about here to get rid of them. But with it attached, I can increase the brightness from this, which is acceptable in a darkened room, but it'd be nice if it got a bit brighter. And now I can go all the way, almost to 100% brightness. So right now it's maxed out. You'd never want to watch it like this anyways. The picture's far too washed out. Just back off a little bit. And notice that when I have the brightness all the way up, you only see the retrace lines at the very top. That's because that pulse is it's still having some effect, just not enough to come blank out during the entire interval. I back off a little bit, and there we go. So it's a pretty successful mod. Doesn't seem to be affecting the picture quality in any way. So you can see the set's playing pretty darn well now. Just the occasional issue with horizontal jitters. And I'm just about writing that off. It's just that's how it's going to be. Especially because, if all goes well, I'll be getting another one of these sometime later in the year. And it should be the metal cabinet version. And if that does come to pass, I can compare the two sets side by side and see if they have the same issue or not. Otherwise, this is playing just fine. I just went ahead and tied up a few loose ends, like removing my temporary silicon diode from up top and mounted it securely below. I'll just leave the old selenium rectifier there. And I'm afraid that is going to be it for now. It is just too darn cold to finish off the cabinet. It's actually below 0 right now outside. So maybe in a few weeks, a couple months, it'll be warm enough that I can finish it off. And as for the sync, well, it's really not that bad. I think I might be getting confused by the modern video signal I'm sending it. Maybe the color burst is tripping it up a little bit. And as I hinted at, I mentioned earlier that I should be getting the metal cabinet version of this, and perhaps sooner than later. And once I do, I will attempt to restore it, and then I can compare the two side by side and see if they have the same issue. But for now, I will demonstrate the set operating one last time.
You said I have slob-like influence on the kid. Hardly a compliment. Oscar, Randy is at a very impressionable age. So am I.
So, that is going to be it for now. I hope you enjoyed this look at restoring a national TV-7 7-inch
I'm not setting any example. I just do everything I feel like doing except throw you out. That's perfectly all right with me. Okay. But there's too much at stake for the kid. Suppose he wants to become a surgeon. Who wants a surgeon with dirty hands? Suppose he wants to become president of the United States. Who wants to see the president address the Congress in a dirty sweatshirt? I'm not asking him to do what I do. He can't help himself. What you do, he'll do. He's putty in your...